Do you hear that old joke about the hooker who walks up to a guy and says, "I'll do anything you want for $50," and the guy hands her the 50 and says, "Okay, paint my house." If you've ever tried to paint yourself, you'll understand this joke. It's messy, it's endless, it looks horrible when you do it. I try to paint, it looks like a murder scene. I asked around to find out who was the best in the business of painting. And in the San Fernando Valley, it's
Dave Dodge, Professional Painting.
This is great because I've heard so much about you. I've heard you are the best in the business.
Well, that's a nice compliment. I appreciate that.
What do you think people mean by that when they say the best? What do you think?
Maybe just conscientious and always on time and doing a good job. I think that's kind of what I go with, and a lot of people respect that, and I think the word just kind of carries on.
You hear the story time and time again that contractors disappear. You know, they come in, they'll give an estimate, they'll start a job, and then they'll go away for 9 months. Where do they go?
You know, they just take the money and run, but there's a lot of horror stories out there like that, and it's really sad.
Now, do you work mainly off referrals, or do you advertise? Or?
Basically, yeah, I do very little advertising. Sometimes I have a sign on my van, but mostly it's word of mouth, and it's been that way for the better part of 30 years now.
Oh my gosh, so you've been in business for 30 years?
Yeah, a little over 30 years.
Wow. Now, how'd you get started? Were you an apprentice, or?
I did. I started out in the union as an apprentice, and I worked for a company doing some homes in Porter Ranch.
I imagine there's some things that you had to learn the hard way when you were learning the craft. Any horror stories? Anything?
Well, just a lot of sanding, which is about the worst part of the trade. It's just monotonous and sometimes overwhelming. But that and just tedious stuff, caulking.
I don't think they really think about all that prep work that goes into it, like sanding and.
It's a prolonged, tedious part of the business, but that's where a lot of your good quality work comes from, doing a lot of the prep.
I've done some paintings, and I love the sound the roller makes. That.
You know what? Basically, it's a pretty quiet trade, all in all, unless you have a sander in your hand. Just to know that sometimes you can take something, a piece of wood, for instance, that looks terrible, and that you can make it look really good, and you get a lot of nice compliments at the end of the day when you can walk away from something that, when you got there, looks atrocious.
I know when I mop the floor or something, it doesn't happen very often, but you could really say, "Oh, this place is filthy." Now it looks great. You must deal with that on a daily basis.
I do, and there's a great sense of satisfaction in getting that response from people, and just seeing it yourself, and being able to go home and feel good about what you've done.
Well, Dave, thanks for talking to us today.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate it, and keep doing a great job.
Thanks.
We'll be right back.